marijuana usage is high up, but all types of drugs are getting into everything. I don't think the parents believe it. I know for sure the yeshivas and school systems don't believe it. They'll be like, oh, in our school you don't have drugs. But every time they do.
You think parents don't really believe how prevalent it is?
The issues are far greater than people think. Children getting addicted to online casino, online gaming. The 15-year-old boy wiped out all of his parents' credit cards with $190,000.
Wow. How common is that?
High school students gambling? The numbers are crazy.
Meet Zvi Gluck, the man who deals with the cases nobody talks about, the numbers nobody believes, and the consequences everyone tries to hide. He sees the drugs, the gambling, the abuse, the overdoses, the suicides, the things people bury, because it's easier than admitting they're real. He's not here to be polite. He's not here to protect reputations. He's here to say things everyone else is terrified to say, and to expose what's destroying our communities from the inside.
We have the exchange program, right? From one community to another. What did you think? You covered up for this person, moved them to another neighborhood, and now magically they're going to stop abusing? In order to address an issue, you have to acknowledge the issue. Putting our head in the sand doesn't solve it. It never did, it never will.
What's something that you're scared to say out loud? I just need 30 seconds of your time before we get this episode. I want to ask you, please, double check to see if you're subscribed to our channel right now on YouTube. It's very simple. Do you see that button? Does it say subscribed? Do you have your notification bells on? It goes a long way for us, making sure that you get our content, what you like. So go ahead, hit that button, because so many of you think you're subscribed, but you're not actually subscribed. One other thing that you need to be subscribed to is Meaningful Minute Plus. It is 50% off right now. I'll tell you something cool. In 2 weeks from now, we're putting out an incredible documentary, a new series sponsored by Shui Wine. It's called The Wine Series. It's going to be a series of documentaries, impact storytelling type documentaries, and you're going to want to watch it. Guarantee that. And those who will be able to watch it are Plus members. Okay. So right now you have an opportunity to become a Plus member at 50% off, 50% off. It's a Black Friday sale. It's not going to last long. By the time you watch this, it might not even be there anymore. But if you're seeing this early, head to mmplus.org, take advantage, 50% off right now. It's not just about the documentary, the wine series, right? It is going to be about the extra episodes of Stories of Hope, meaningful people, live streams, everything that's happening on Plus. Even this episode, you'll see at the end, we have a segment that is just for Plus members. Become a Plus member right now at mmplus.org. And of course, this episode is not full without mentioning Kol Chabad, the Pushka app, but not just the Pushka app. You know, Kol Chabad is making a concert called Nafshi on December 7th in King's Theater. Make sure you're there. It's a night where Hasidus comes alive, Abiol Gold, or Daniel Kalish, Joey Newcomb, Benny Freeman, Shalom Lemmer, Ellie Marcus, Yehuda Green. It's going to be a night that you won't forget. Make sure to get tickets right now. Link in the show notes. Now enjoy this episode. Okay, Zvi Gluck. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. A lot has happened since we last spoke. A lot has happened. I read an article recently. It's actually, I think you wrote in 2022 about marijuana usage in the frum world. I think a lot of parents who are watching would be like surprised or maybe not surprised. How common is that?
Just jump right into it.
What, you want me to?
No, I like it.
Should we talk about how your ride was here? You sound proud.
No, the ride was great. No, I like that.
Yeah.
Jumping right into it. So yeah, the marijuana usage, part of what at that time period especially, we were doing a very big focus on it is because as things were getting legalized in various states, you know, people have to know the difference between legal and good for you. And just because something's legal doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
And one of the examples I've used, which I've heard Rabbi Dr. Abraham Tursky, Zechron Livracha, say was, alcohol is not good for you, but it's legal. People forget why it became legal, because to stop murder. Right,
interesting.
Prohibition. But yeah, marijuana usage, I mean, marijuana usage is high up, but all types of drugs. I mean, our youth are getting into everything. It's
is that something that you think parents don't really, they won't believe how prevalent it is?
I don't think the parents believe it. I know for sure the Yeshivas and school systems don't believe it.
Do you have an example of that? Like you went to Yeshiva. Do you speak to Yeshivas about?
I speak to Yeshivas all the time. And if not me, my staff, but we do events very regularly. And they'll be like, oh, in our school, you don't have to worry about A, B, and C. You know, we don't have drugs here. You know, some kids smoke, some of them vape, but there's no drugs. And then I'll do a little test project, which usually means I'm not welcome back again in that yeshiva.
What's that test project?
I'll ask all the staff to leave. And when the staff is gone, I'll turn around, raise hands, close eyes, let's start talking, and I'll start discussing topics that are very clear that in order to respond to me, you're going to be, you know about drugs, about, and by the time I'm done, I go to the principal or the Rosh Yeshiva and I'm like, listen, you have a lot bigger issues here than you thought. But it's not too late. We can address it. And, people don't want to hear that. People want to live in denial. One of the things I always, I did this with somebody. I've actually said this story and I've done it a few times, but one story comes to mind. I was sitting for dinner with somebody, with one of my donors, and he invited his granddaughter. We were in Israel, and he invited his granddaughter who was in seminary. And he says, listen, Zvi, whatever you do, don't be Zvi Gluck during this dinner. My granddaughter is very, she's very good. She's well-natured. She's a student. She doesn't know about these things. And of course, that tells me I got to come up with something to prove him wrong, right? Halfway through the dinner, I turned to her and I'm like, listen, I have a very, very hard time sleeping on a plane. Do you have anybody that can get me sleeping pills? Maybe someone in your dorm or something. And she's like, yeah, of course. Just which one? And then she looks at her grandfather and goes, no, I meant.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, stop. The cat's out of the bag. Now you'll say to me, okay, big deal. It's a sleeping pill, but it's not. Because to the next time I'll say to somebody, I can't focus. Can you get me an Adderall? Yeah, sure. What do you?
They're controlled substances.
And everything is available. And when you think it's not, that's when you get into trouble.
Yeah. I think a lot of what Amudim has been doing, and you being the founder, over the years, you've kind of shifted, it seems, from my perspective, of like reactive to preventive, right? Are you trying to?
We're trying to. Our community loves fires. Firefighting is something. And by the way, it's what kept us going. So we have to look at the Jewish community and go through history starting from antiquities and say, you know what? Okay, so that was important, because we are firefighters is why there's still Jews today, right? Every other group has disappeared off the face of the earth.
I mean, we love crisis.
We live for crisis.
And we only act once there's crisis.
And that's one of the things that we'd love to change. Yes, responding to crisis is important. But at the end of the day, if we can prevent the crisis, we'll be doing a lot more. I'm not going to say we shifted. I'm going to say we added. So, listen, our PSA videos were all, they're amazing. I have to say the videos we've put out have been off the charts.
Yeah.
And even when we do our events, even when we do our Narcan trainings, right? We're one of the largest trainers of Narcan and distributors of Narcan in New York City. We don't just do a Narcan training event. We will always make it an awareness event. We want people to understand, learn, be educated. The example I use is that many years ago, I got a call from a certain yeshiva telling me that their students, there was an ISP that if one person had a username and password, multiple students, could log into the same account. And this specific one wasn't filterable by the tag filter.
Okay.
Somebody had told them that I knew the chief legal counsel for that company. So they reached out to me saying, can you speak to the chief legal counsel, maybe connect them with tag, something to get a filter? And I said, it'd be my pleasure, but I have to ask you a question. When tag comes into the school and you put filters on the phones, do they explain in your school why and what the dangers are and what all the issues are? Or is it just that the rule of the school is you need to have a filter, so we have a filter? And they said, no, it's the rule of the school. I said, okay, then I'm not going to help you. When you're ready to educate the students, come back to me. And then I threw a curveball and I said to this Manal, I said, I'm just curious, what's the number one issue that you can see with a teenage boy in yeshiva having unfiltered internet on their phone? And of course, he responds to me with?
I imagine looking at inappropriate content.
Exactly. Pornography, inappropriate content, right?
You don't think that's the answer?
It's definitely a problem. I wouldn't say it's the problem.
Okay.
Children getting addicted to the internet from gaming, meeting people online that you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So you have risks of abuse, bad behaviors, not being able to sleep or function because you're playing games 24/7, not being able to go to school. Yes, the pornography is a problem, but I got to tell you, I don't know anybody who didn't find a way to pay some homeless guy a few dollars and get a magazine in the times when you couldn't get it on the internet. Meaning teenagers are teenagers and we'll try to figure things out one way or the other. But if as a community we're focusing on the problem is the inappropriate behavior, then we're losing sight of all the other things that come along with that. For example, case in point, online gambling.
gambling. That's something that we're hoping to do a podcast on. Listen, the beginning of this conversation, I'm like really steering with you is I think there's so much going on that everyone likes to say, or people like to say, yeah, but not here. It's not happening here. So you're the guy who sits behind this computer, who sees the numbers come in. You just told me numbers before about the amount of suicides that were linked to the amounts of abuse that were linked to other things, right? So you see kind of under the hood what's going on. Well, just
not to scare off the listeners and the people that are watching, what I was doing was I was showing you within our over 20,000 clients that we've served, how many had multiple issues that came into it. Meaning I don't want it to make people assume that anybody that was abused is going to commit suicide, because that's not.
God forbid.
So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page of that. But yeah, there is a lot of things will link to one another, but the issues are far greater than people think. I mean, I could tell you right now, high school students gambling, the numbers are crazy.
Percentage of them doing it, or
so let's define the word percent. First of all, amount of money for sure. I mean, I'm dealing with something right now where somebody wiped out all of his parents' credit cards, maxed them all out. By the time they found out, and this is a 15-year-old boy. And
he's in Yeshiva.
And from mainstream, from kid. Tzitzis, wears his hat for davening, white shirt,
How much did he spend?
About $190,000.
On what? On what? On sports gambling? Or
so he did both sports gambling, and then he was also doing online casino, online gaming.
Wow. That's
15-year-old.
Where did they even pick up a behavior like that? Starts with dreidel? Like what?
Well, if the internet only problem is inappropriate behavior and you don't educate people about what pitfalls else can happen, then things are bound to happen. It's just we're setting it up for failure. I'm going to say that straight.
So do you think that that's an anomaly, that 15-year-old?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I wish it was. We're dealing with many, many, many cases right now, and all over the world. I could tell you, we just had a call this week where we're developing some programming in another country, in Mexico, and we ran the numbers of the cases that we're dealing with in Mexico. And I presented it to the Rav there, and he was, first he was like, yeah, we know. But is it by the from or only by the not? Everybody likes to find a way. No, it's by everybody.
To absolve.
It's across the board.
I think people do that with everything, though. Like, if someone hears that someone passed away, the initial instinct is like, how old were they? Oh, they're 80. Okay, so yeah. So that can't happen to me. Like, everyone okay, so it can't happen to me because I'm not 80. Or, oh, they were sick. Okay, so they were sick. So, but if you say someone was 31 years old and just didn't wake up, that's when people get uncomfortable, and they probably don't want to talk about it because, oh, wow, that happens.
No, it's not true. I'll tell you. Because anyone that dies young, it used to be they all died from aneurysms, and now they're all dying from the COVID vaccine. Nobody that dies under a certain age has died either from an overdose, accidental most often, or, has death by suicide. No, nothing. It
sounds like you're being sarcastic.
Oh, very.
What you're hinting to,
I'm not hinting to. I'm saying it straight out.
What is it? What are you saying?
Is that we as a community, we're still living in the world where things have to get brushed under the rug.
Really?
So I got into big trouble about a year ago because I gave a speech someplace and we spoke about, people that were taking their own lives, unaliving themselves. I can't keep up with all the language, by the way. I am trying just to keep changing it. And the guy says to people, there was a whole group that came after me saying, you don't understand. When you talk about it, there's copycats. And I will tell you that, first of all, 43% of all studies are made up, including that one.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two is any study you do, you can have people on both sides of the coin. So you'll have PhDs inside these telling you, yeah, we see an increase of suicide when you talk about it. And you'll have the other side saying, no, we don't. I'll tell you what I've noticed. What I've noticed is you talk about it and then somebody else passes away. And right away, the people are like, wait, 1 second. That person died young. Was it an overdose maybe? Was it something? So all of a sudden, their eyes are more open to understanding things. So you think you're hearing more about it. And the example I'm going to give you is, what kind of car do you drive?
Honda Odyssey.
Good. When obvious, I'm sorry, the official, the official car of Jewish motherhood, right?
Of course, yeah.
So, question: when you first got your Odyssey and you started driving, how many Odysseys did you notice on the road?
A lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's what you have. If you drive a Honda Accord, you'll notice Honda Accords. I got my Tesla. I noticed Teslas. That's the way it is. When something is in your mind, you're aware of it. You'll be more aware of it.
Okay.
So one of the biggest issues that we've had is you can't do prevention programs in schools. Why? Because you're going to educate them to want to do the things that you're trying to prevent.
Right. So like if you're trying to do education, prevention on drug use, you're going to teach them about drug use.
Exactly.
I think what you're kind of saying is that like they already know.
Well,
No?
I don't know. Let me ask you a question. When you teach a kid to look both ways before crossing a street, are you worried that he's going to run into the street on purpose to show you, look? No, you're teaching him this can be dangerous, right? You're educating, right? You're teaching somebody to swim. You're educating them.
Right. We don't teach someone how to swim because of the what could possibly happen.
So the assumption that we make, forget about the fact that they know. Yes, they do know. But let's even assume that they don't. At some point they will. Whenever it is that they learn these things, gambling, abuse, addiction, mental health issues in general, right? Whatever it might be, don't you want people to at least be somewhat educated and knowledgeable? Wouldn't that make all of our lives much easier?
100%. So what's the obstacle to you guys achieving that education? I know I did not receive that in high school, or I don't think our kids getting that now. So
I will tell you that there is a program out there right now that we helped fund a big part of it, and it's growing, which is in about 100 schools nationwide. It's endorsed by Torah Masorah, Rav Elia Brudny, Rav Hillel David, it's called Darchenu. It's a phenomenal social emotional curriculum. It's not even about abuse or addiction. It's literally preventative education, teaching children starting in 5th grade about healthy decision making, healthy behaviors, just how to be a mensch. And the studies and the results have been phenomenal. That education such as that is what's the answer. That the answer is educating in a culturally sensitive, age-appropriate way that will also allow for questions, and more important than the questions, allow for there to be answers. And here's the trick. If a kid asks a question and a Rebbe or teacher doesn't know the answer, that's also an answer.
Right.
When I was growing up, I asked questions. I had the benefit of either being called an apikairis or told we don't discuss those topics, or we don't talk about these things, because that's the answer. That's not an answer. That's telling me Rebbe doesn't know how to answer my question, so he's calling me an apikoros, because if he'd be smarter, he would be able to explain to me why I'm asking it, or why am I asking about something that, that pertains to the street, or something that pertains to, listen, let's look at, just to shift gears for a second, right? You're a little bit younger than me, but when I was younger, the town drunk was the joke of the neighborhood. We saw the guy sitting on Fort Hamilton Parkway on 55th Street walking to the park Shabbos afternoon. Everybody made fun of the guy. Right. You hear about it in Europe, Shikker, Yankel the Shikker, right? You hear about these things. We have changed our culture where alcohol has become a huge personification. Right? You go to somebody's Shabbos table, look at the vintage, the wine I have, this bottle, 30 years, 20 years. So we've created the system where the kids are learning from us, right? So we know they're learning about alcohol. All they're hearing from the parent is you can't drink it, you're under 21, right? They're not being educated in school as to the dangers of alcohol, right? So, and it must be good because everybody's doing it, even though I can say myself safely, nobody I know ever enjoyed their first shot of scotch or vodka, ever.
Let me ask you though, I remember seeing the Amudim videos about the alcohol and the kid following the father, kiddish club, this, that. Part of me feels like we way off that alcoholism is maybe not as much as a thing. Like maybe there's more of like an awareness and that people are just smarter. Is that not true?
I wish.
I'm wrong.
I mean, it's job security for my staff. I wish. You're not only are you wrong, I've been saying this for the last few years. Alcoholism has already grown. It's not only men by kiddish clubs. It's the women in the neighborhood now. It's younger people. It's not.
So it's only gotten worse.
In a certain sense, It's gotten worse and we know about it more. It's one or the other or a little bit of both. Again, nobody's ever going to become an addict.
More sarcasm.
Yes, I will preface by saying, let me be sarcastic now. I don't know anybody that started drinking or started using drugs and said, I want to become an addict.
Or gamble, yeah.
Or gambling, or sex addiction, or porn addiction,
I
or
bet
anything.
that kid thought he was just placing one bet.
It starts with one bet. It starts with two.
Is there anybody else in that kid's life that knew he was doing it? I'm just like enamored by that story.
So one of the things that we've learned, and this is why education is so important, survival mechanism of an addict is the ability to hide until hiding is no longer accessible, and by then it's usually very late. But if kids have who to speak to or would feel comfortable, I mean, you're giving yourself a better option of opening a door. At some point, I mean, this kid has said that he was hoping at some point somebody would have caught him.
Really?
He just didn't know, like, at that point he was going to be in so much trouble. What's he going to do? Now, that didn't get any better. But he said, I wish somebody would have caught me. Like, kid's 15, but he understands what he was doing was wrong. But he couldn't get rid of it. The high was too much. He just needed to do it. The adrenaline, that was too much for him. And you have the same thing, by the way, about other types of prevention. When you talk about healthy decision making, right? Rabbi Avi Landa, who works with us and teaches a bunch of stuff in school, has said that there was a student that he noticed through teaching one of these social curriculums, something just, it wasn't all there. And he pulled the kid aside, and the kid's like, I've been waiting for somebody to ask me. I've been waiting. So we don't want to be bad. We really don't. Not by nature, not by nurture. We want to be good. People want to be good inherently. That's my belief. And people do bad things. They're not necessarily bad people. I mean, there are some bad people, but as a general rule, good people do bad things. And we need to be able to separate that as well. You see, if everybody feels that they're getting stigmatized, they're not going to want to reach out for help either.
Right.
So it's like, why do I want to tell somebody my problem? That's just going to make my life worse.
Yeah.
We'll be right back to this episode. A quick word from my friends at Banana Blast. Yeah, that's a heck of a name of an advertiser, ain't it? This is a fun company. Are you looking for Hanukkah entertainment? Yes, the stuff that brings arcades, carnival games, concessions, and more. Look no further. They service a tri-state area. This is Banana Blast. They set it all up. They pack it all away. It is absolutely stress-free for you. Whether it's a school, a shul, some sort of program, bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah, corporate party, family party, whatever it is, Banana Blast can make this fun. Do you see this video? That is a ton of fun. You can get in touch with them at info@bananablast.com, or there's a number down below in the show notes. Give them a call. Have your Hanukkah party actually be fun this year by using Banana Blast.
Or are you an entrepreneur and you want to make sure your business is running smoothly? Maybe you're hitting some roadblocks that easily can be fixed. Well, let me tell you something. Srili Schoenfeld is there for you. Kind of like a business therapist. He can sit down with you and make sure you are absolutely organized and that you are making the right moves when it comes to your business. And it's not something you need to do alone. Srili Schoenfeld has been doing this for years. So you're going to reach out to him right now. Hit the link in the show notes below. Streamline your business. Make it efficient. Make sure your employees are working well for you. He is a business organizer. He is a guru when it comes to operations. So enough procrastinating, enough of your days going by without you being actually efficient in your work. Srili Schoenfeld will help you get out of that rut. And he's offering a free 15-minute consultation right now. Hit the link in the show notes below in our bio. Get in touch with him today. And of course, let him know that you heard about him on Meaningful People. I think like over the years we went from, and Amudim like was kind of first to the game with all this, like way ahead of its time, bringing awareness to these topics. But I kind of feel like it went from no one was talking about it. Amudim started talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. And people are saying now that it's being spoken about too much. And we don't believe anymore the things that are being said. I guarantee you, people are going to watch this and they're going to say they don't believe what you're saying. I had Rachel Bayer on this podcast, and she said the stats of 1 in 4 being, sexually abused. And I can't, what the first reactions I got to that? It's not true.
So
it's not true.
So first of all, I actually watched that podcast. Okay. I happen to like her a lot. I think she's a fascinating person and she does great work. There is a little bit of a question about those statistics. I'm going to have to say this straight out.
Okay.
We have to define what abuse is and how it's categorized in order to be able to give that number. Meaning the number is definitely high. I will say that. Okay. I could tell you for sure 1 in 10, for sure.
Right.
Okay. Meaning it's not a small number. However, one of the things that like the general world will consider a statistic is somebody seeing somebody naked. You know, statistically, people might consider a child seeing an adult naked could be considered abuse.
Right.
Now bring that into the mikveh culture, which we can get to a separate discussion that I think is ridiculous and kids should never be going to mikvahs, a whole separate area to talk about for so many various reasons, not just abuse. But yeah, so if Hasidic kids are in the mikveh when they're young and they're hanging out with all these naked men in a mikveh, they will fall under the category of theoretically having been abused, and that statistic will just go higher. So it's one of those things where you want to be careful when you give out information.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer in being data driven. I'm a data freak. Everybody makes fun of me between Salesforce, Power BI, now using AI. I like to know what's going on.
Right.
Okay. Yes, my numbers, nobody will believe me. That's true. But at least I know I'm giving them the honest number. And if they do a little bit of research, they can find out. So you have
we
to
could agree it's somewhere. I think she said in terms of like in some cases it's one out of 6. You would agree it's between 1 out of 6 and 1 out of 10.
And if it, one second. Yes, but let me ask you another question. And if it's 1 out of 20, right? Does that make it better?
I think not. If
in other words,
if you're in shul and there's 40 people there, you know.
Or if you're in a classroom, it's 1 out of 1 kid in the class.
Yeah.
You didn't even start your school yet.
Yeah. But I mean, again, we have this culture that like, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true.
Again, it's a safety mechanism. It's a defense mechanism, and it's a survival technique.
So what do you do about that? Because like
I just keep driving it home.
But you're dealing with all this stuff, and people say what the stuff you're dealing with is not true. It's kind of similar to, you know, it's kind of like the mainstream media saying that the atrocities that happened after October 7th didn't happen. Then you have like members from Zaka and Mada United Tzal being like, we were there. Like, what do you mean it's not happening?
And the people that don't want to believe it will convince themselves.
Well, how can you convince them if they're listening right now? I'm just
I just say it the way it is. I just say it the way it is. I just say it the way it is. I don't believe in holding back. We have addiction, all types of addiction. We have abuse, all types of abuse. Is everybody abused? No. Is everybody an addict? No. Is every kid that, and I hate the term off the derech because who decided what the derech is, but is every kid that's categorized as that a victim of abuse? No. Like, I'm going to say a lot of those stereotypes aren't true. But the reality is we have all these problems. And putting our head in the sand doesn't solve it. It never did. It never will.
What does solve it?
In my opinion, there's 2 components. One is awareness. People need to hear about it. And by the way,
who's not aware, though, of any of these things? Who's not aware that you have a 15-year-old drinking alcohol, it might lead to a problem? Who's not aware that, you know, of any of these topics?
They're not aware of the fact that their 15-year-old could possibly be the 15-year-old. Nobody's denying that 15-year-olds are getting drunk, because anybody that goes to a Shalom Zacher sees what happens when a kid's sneaking out or a bar mitzvah or whatever, right? They're not denying it. They're in denial that it could be their kid, that it could be their student. The issue itself, I think we're past denial. Shmuel Kamenetsky said it many years ago. There's no more room under the rug. It's the best line. But now the denial shifted to, he's over embellishing. It's not everybody. It's not by me. It wouldn't be, you know, we have that video that's called, it's not, you know, that it's not us, right? Not by us. Like it mimics all different segments of within the Jewish community, Orthodox, Hasidic, Litvish, modern Orthodox, non-religious. And it's the same, the way the PSA was done. It's the same parents and the same child. Just they're wearing different types of clothing, and the person they're sitting with is either a Hasidic Rebbe or a Rav or an English principal, right? Or, you know, modern Orthodox rabbi. But the context is the same. We don't have these things here. It doesn't happen in our community, right? The context is the same. And the reason why that video was so powerful is because that's the message it's giving, is that, no, it is everywhere. These things happen everywhere. Unfortunately, I hate being an I told you so person. More often than not, it's when people are saying to me, Zvi, I'm sorry that I doubted you. I need help with, you know, my loved one. or they'll call Amudim asking for help, saying, make sure Zvi doesn't know I called, which I can safely say I don't know the clients that we have. Unless they want me to know, I have no way of knowing. I don't go through it. It's not my business. I'm not a clinic. I'm not a clinician, But at the end of the day, that's unfortunately the way we find out. And that's the problem, because we don't, again, ignorance is bliss. And the truth is, sometimes I say to myself, I wish that I didn't know everything I know.
Right.
I wish I can live this relaxed, life that nothing, happens in my world. But unfortunately, the world we live in is what it is.
Yeah. Let me ask you, do you think that if people out there would know the things you know or see the things you see, do you think they'd be able to sleep at night?
So you didn't ask me if I sleep at night. So that's an unfair
I can tell
question.
you don't sleep at night.
Right. The answer is, yeah, it would be tough. It would be, if they would believe it.
If they'd see it, they believe it.
But it's a lot tougher when someone's not sleeping at night because they buried a child or a spouse or a loved one.
Right. Meaning that they experienced it.
Exactly.
You mentioned in passing, I want to zoom in on this a bit. You mentioned with sarcasm that, obviously you were sarcastic, that there's nobody under 30 who passes away from just natural causes. They blame it on COVID vaccine or blame it on thing. It sounded like what you were kind of saying is there are many times where someone young age will pass away and the cause of death is very ambiguous and it's an aneurysm or it's just that. And what you're saying is it's more times than not, and we're not talking about any, obviously no personal situation, but more times than not, there's an overdose that's being hidden.
So let me say this. I don't ever want to know what it's like to be in a position of a family that lost a loved one for something that is that traumatic, whether it's overdose or suicide. And I don't wish it upon anybody. And I don't judge anybody for not wanting to share why their loved one died. I don't judge them, and it's not my place to share someone else's secret. Yeah. Okay. I will tell you that when Malki Klein alayhi shalom passed away, and her father, Rabbi Avremel, who's a tzaddik, great guy, the parents, they're all good people. Yeah. When her father got up and spoke by the Levaya and said, Malki died of an overdose. If anybody here needs help, please let me know. We'll get you help. People got up and got help. People actually went over to him, Levaya, Yeshiva, and since then. Why? Because he faced it head on. This is what happened. Let's use that unfortunate experience to be able to help make the world a better place, to save someone else from the tsar that he was going through. Now, I'm not making a statement that says every 30-year-old that died of one of those things.
Yeah, God forbid, yeah.
But I can also tell you that not every 30-year-old that died from an aneurysm. In other words, at some point, people, in order to address an issue, you have to acknowledge the issue. As I said, as a community, we're doing far better in accepting that the issues are happening than we did years ago. But we're still light years away of truly saying we're going to deal with this. Yeah.
Listen, first of all, Neshama Malki Klein Shev Aliyah. That story is like me and the Kleins forever were tied by the hip. When I first started Meaningful Minute, I put out a video, and it was literally just a couple months after I got a message from the Klein family. Someone at the Klein family, they had just buried their daughter, their sister, and that Remy reached out. He said he was just finishing Shiva and he saw a Meaningful Minute video. It was a video of Rabbi Manas Freeman saying something. And it said it gave him the chizuk to speak up and to speak the truth and to feel, to feel the way he feel and be outspoken the way he was outspoken. And for me, it was at that point, Meaningful Minute was a hobby. And I decided then, I'm like, this is not a hobby. Like this is something that really makes a difference. And like, there's so many people in pain. Malki Klein was in so much pain.
She was a great girl.
Yeah.
She was it was one of my wife's students. She was by us for Shabbos. I mean, Avremel said to me a few times when he sees me, he goes, the best Shabbos she had was the Shabbaton by you in Queens, and it's like, again, so, but again, if we could do something to prevent parents from having to live through that pain and agony,
Yeah.
Nobody thinks it'll be them, ever. And you know what? We're living in a crazy world. Listen, the world's gone nuts. Say whatever you want. The world...
Yeah.
I don't even... Look, there's nothing to say. The
There's too many examples, but yeah,
the
I
world's
got you.
gone crazy. And anything you say, you're going to either be canceled or uncanceled, decanceled, recanceled. They have to have now 17 different ways of saying the word canceled.
Are you cancelable?
I don't know, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming everybody's cancelable. No?
I mean, if you haven't been canceled yet, I don't know.
I mean, the people that have tried to cancel me, forever. I'm still alive.
Hey.
I don't know. I guess everyone's cancelable for the right. All you have to do is tick off the wrong person who woke up that morning deciding what they're going to be upset about that day and how they're going to. I mean, everyone's cancelable. I just try to stick by my convictions, regardless of what others think.
You also have like rabbinic backing. It seems like you have the people in your corner.
Yeah. So people always say to me, Rav Elia Brudny is the Rav of Amudim, and he's the rabbinical guide. But he understands what we're doing. We've had crazy questions that have come up over the years. I mean, to the point now, Amudim has a full-time rabbi.
So why isn't Amudim in every yeshiva?
We're getting there. Baby steps.
Baby steps. So when we spoke 4 years ago, we were also doing those.
I'm in 100 yeshivas since then.
Okay.
Well, 1 second.
Respect.
Hello, 100 yeshivas in 4 years?
That's good.
Come on.
That's good.
We always look at the wins.
Seminaries also.
In Israel, we have an entire program in seminaries and yeshivas in Israel. My office in Israel is Baruch Hashem doing amazing.
How often are girls going to seminary and seeking out therapy and help that their parents don't even know about?
Very. The number one reason why we opened in Israel was to address, and this was purely based on abuse. Mendy Klein, Olav Shalom, had a phenomenal foresight where we knew that most people that are abused either at home or by somebody very close to them.
Yeah.
So that means it's very hard for them to reach out and get help. But if they're 6,000 miles away and they don't have to ask their parents' permission because they're over 18, there's an opportunity. That was actually why we started Amudim Israel, was for that reason.
I figured, and like, I wanted to bring that
up. And by the way,
yeah.
It's not just seminary girls, yeshiva guys too. I will say a lot of the yeshivas and seminaries though, and this is just to talk about how the world has changed, do have their own mental health professionals that are involved in the schools. They're becoming much more in tune to it. So we're definitely seeing tremendous change. We'd like to see more, but we have to look at the positive. We're seeing a lot of good.
This is not an ad break. This is me telling about a new documentary that's coming out in a couple of weeks for the Meaningful Minute team. It is called Rekindle, and it is sponsored by Shui Wine, the wine series, a new series that will be coming out, sponsored by a young wealth manager who really understands storytelling and its impact. And we really thank him for this. This is the teaser. Check this out. Is this something hard for you to talk about?
This is something that I live with absolutely every single day. This doesn't go away. Kislev is a month of miracles. And this is my miracle.
That will be available for our Plus members on December 13th. Yes, the wine series presents Rekindle. You're not going to want to miss this one. So become a Plus member today, mmplus.org, while it's still 50% off. Now back to this episode. Do you think people would be shocked to hear that there are girls going to seminary and like after they land, one of the first things they'll do a couple months in is they'll go seek help for something they've been through?
What do you mean? I wrote an article a few months ago, it was right before the school year started, where I put something out addressing yeshivas and seminaries. And a bunch of my staff in Israel sent me messages saying these girls are asking that their parents have called them to say, is it true? Are you or anyone you know? And they were saying, no,
don't talk about it.
No, I'm not in therapy. This is what they're telling my therapist in Israel. Like, I'm not in therapy. I'm not here in the Jerusalem Therapy Center getting help.
Is that your center?
The Yeshiva University and Amudim partner together, and we opened up a clinic about a few years ago called the Jerusalem Therapy Center. So in addition to Amudim proper, which does the clinical case management and the education, prevention, and the crisis, work, we actually have a real clinic, like where people come in for therapy, and it's doing very well.
I wanted to bring that up for two reasons. One, I thought it's very interesting that it's happening and it's important, it's good. And two is girls listen to this, and boys, they listen to this in yeshiva and seminary, they listen to this podcast. And I think it's a great thing for them to know about if they don't already, that this is an
Absolutely.
option for them.
Reach out.
Why do you think, so you're saying that they can't do it at home. There's too much happening. It could be, yeah.
Or it could be if somebody was abused by their father, by their uncle, by their older brother, by a brother-in-law, by a cousin, by
Right.
whatever, and they know if they tell their parents, then it's not true, so here they can at least get the help that they need.
Very interesting. Just one more point about prevention. A few months ago, I was in Israel, and I was by United Hatzalah, and they had this screen. They were showing green blinking dots, which was saying that their AI powered system could predict, based on their call volume and statistics, where the next call is going to be. And then they scramble, their ambulances in those areas, and they're able to get the calls quicker. Does Amudim, or do you think there's ever going to be a time that you have a similar system in place where you can predict, or a Rebbe can get up in a class and he could look at the 25 kids in his class and he could say, there are 3 boys that have, I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk next to their name, because these kids show things, signs, their background, whatever it is, that they might be of a larger risk to alcoholism, drug addiction, abuse. Can we get ahead and really predict who's going to be the next one?
So the answer is no. You can never get ahead and predict, because there is no clear distinction. People always make the assumption: the child from the divorced home, the child who has a sibling that has cancer. But then you realize that your percentages are equal across the board, with the family that is the most chashiv and the most philanthropic and the biggest Rosh Yeshiva, where everybody's married, no divorces. So
it's all the same.
It's all the same. What we could do, and with proper education, and I know Torah Masorah is doing a lot of work on this. I give big props to them. Both Torah Masorah and with their Mashgiach program that they have, that Rabbi Morgenstern is very involved in. I mean, these are just Rabbi Morgenstern, yeah. Another good guy. Is if you can educate Rabbeim and teachers for pattern and behavior changes,
right,
and to respond in a healthy way. Now, let me just give you like one example.
And you were kicked out of like how many yeshivas?
I went to 4 elementary schools and 14 high schools. I wasn't kicked out. It was a management issue.
I didn't know those 14 high schools existed.
It was management. By the way, I got to tell you, great story. I was in Eretz Yisrael not too long ago. My son, his second year Shana Bet, he's been making siyumim on different city mission. He's doing great. So we've just finished. And we're in a shul, and in between Mincha Ma'ariv, there was a Rav that gave something, and my son had a serious question. And my kids are Baruch Hashem very smart. I just tell you, it skips a generation.
After the mother? They got after the mother?
The mother, my parents, anybody but me. I don't know. But
I think for your sake, you should say your wife, not your parents.
I should say my wife for my sake? Okay, my wife. I say what I believe, right? Whatever. It's anybody. Listen. I said anybody but me.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, that's what I said. But anyway, so my son's waiting. And this was a Friday night, and we were actually supposed to go to somebody, my cousin, for the meal, and we're just waiting because he's waiting for this person to finish talking so that he can present his shaila on what this person said, which I was blown away because my son quoted 2 different Gemaras and 4 different Taisvis in that discussion. And he goes, "What's your name?" Zvi Gluck. Oh, Yeshiva, whatever. I said, "I went to this Yeshiva." He goes, "Second." No, first he says something like, "I'm a Rebbe." I said, "I went to many Yeshivas." He goes, "Oh, I never had you as Talmud." I said, "Oh, could be." He goes, "What's your name?" I give him my name. He goes, "1 second. I had you in 12th grade for a few weeks." I said, "Yeah, now it makes more sense." So it was kind of funny that my Rebbe, who had a management issue, as my father Zazangazant likes to say, I left yeshivas because of management issues.
Right.
I thought I was managing. They thought they were managing. It didn't work. Being Rabbi Gluck's son got me into every yeshiva. It didn't necessarily keep you there.
I hear you.
But it was funny to meet this Rabbeim. But yeah.
Just back on the thing about school for a second. I mean, you mentioned, I don't know if you were in 14 schools, but you were in a lot of schools, or having to switch because of management. Let's call a spade. You probably asked to leave.
I mean, I was labedic.
Okay.
Asked to leave. I don't know, going to a movie, having a girlfriend, smoking a cigarette. I mean, these are all capital offenses. The schools have rules. I didn't follow them. That's the truth.
But what would that do to you? Meaning, here you are, you're leading this organization. There are kids who got kicked out of one school and it affects them. You were kicked out of a dozen.
So I'm going to say something now very, very, it's going to be interesting, but I'm going to say it. First of all, there's no greater embarrassment at the time than being thrown out of a school. No matter what, I don't care how old you are. I had an irony that many of the times that I got thrown out, many of the times, it was like I got up early in the morning. I was going to Shachris that day. This is it. This is my first day of my new life. And after Shachris, I'm thrown out. Like, why did I go to Shachris? Maybe they wouldn't have remembered I was there. But there's certainly a truth to it, which has helped me in life in general, by the way. Just want you to know, because we talk about people that when they're struggling with addiction, they're very often they're doing so well and then they fall back, right? So this is not the same thing, but at least it's somewhat relatable. Where like, I'm changing it. I'm going to turn over a new leaf, and then you get into trouble. So that's a second piece of the puzzle that always becomes painful. I will tell you that of my friends, being that I was getting thrown out, I had friends in the same boat. Many of my friends weren't as lucky as me. They weren't Rabbi Gluck's son. They weren't raised by parents who actually cared for them and loved them, as my parents have and should live and be well at Mei Vasrim. And many of them are no longer alive. I will say that straight. Being thrown out 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. And it's not Zvi Gluck saying this. This is the Chazon Ish said it. The Baba Rebbe Zatzal said it. I was told the Satmar Rebbe Zatzal said it. I don't know. The other ones I've had more direct quotes, but it could be. Throwing a kid out of yeshiva without finding them a proper place to go to is murder. It's ritzicha. Unless the kid being in your school is going to blow the place up or do something insane, there's always a place. Find an appropriate place.
But why is it the school's achrayus to find them a place?
Because that's the achrayus of the yeshiva. Because you have a student by you in the yeshiva, they are your achrayus while they're there. It's an achrayus, you accept it. It's not a business.
They're dismissing the student for breaking the rules.
Good. So dismiss the student for breaking the rules without killing him in the process.
But someone would say it's like if someone gets fired from their job for...
Chinuch is not a business. And that's the difference. When I hear from somebody, but so-and-so owns the school, so he can do what he wants. Yeah, you're right, he could, and that's the problem. Chinuch is not a business. Chinuch is shaping the life, molding the future of somebody who's going to either grow up and be a productive member of society or not. And you have that balance. How are you going to react to that? I want to say something. I'm not going to say which one, but one of the yeshivas that I had a management issue with, I got thrown out of, say it the way it is. I was thrown out. This specific yeshiva threw me out for something I did not do. Now, I want to be very honest. There was 872 reasons they could have thrown me out. Honestly.
Yeah.
They could have. The one reason they chose to throw me out for was just not true. It was also worse than all the other 872 reasons combined. And they did it in a very public setting. The entire yeshiva was in the Beis Medrash, high school, Beis Medrash Kollel. And the Rosh Yeshiva called me out by name, announced what the allegation was, and threw me out in front of everybody. Okay. I'm going to fast forward many years. I was giving a speech to principals, and I had just said this piece that you're killing somebody when you throw them out. And a certain principal comes to me and says, I want you to know, in our yeshiva, we never have that. We always find somebody a place. We'll never be mavazer them. We understand it. And he gives me the name of the yeshiva. And I look at him, I said, whose son are you? He gives me the name. I said, maybe we could thank your father for maybe one of the main reasons why we started Amudim. Because that certainly wasn't the case 30 years ago. And I said it straight.
Well, at least they changed.
1 second. This is not even the part of the story. This is leading into it. About 2 hours later, he finds me again. And he says, by the way, my father is here. He would like to speak to you. I haven't seen this person in over 30 years. I do what I want to do, right? Like you said, am I scared? Yeah. Not scared. I felt like I was going to melt, literally. I was shaking, and I said, okay. And I go sit down with him, and he looks me straight in the face, and he says, obviously, I know things now I didn't know then. I just want to take this opportunity to formally ask you for mechila for what I did to you. Now, I felt like a ton of bricks came off my chest. Now, there's many of other people that have done things to hurt me over the years. Maybe they'll do the same one day. Maybe not. Now they'll watch this. They'll know they have an opportunity to do so. But I will say that apology, I'm not saying it didn't hurt when it happened, but that really, it just gave me a renewed, at least feeling of like validation. It is what it is. Again, we are where we are today. But the yeshivas are getting better, but they still do it. I still get calls from parents all the time. My kids being thrown out. And then you hear the reasons why they're being thrown out. And some of it is more ridiculous than the next.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's a big respect and credit to that Rosh Yeshiva for doing that. So you're saying about training Rebbeim to understand patterns.
So let me give you an example, right? Everybody knows if a kid goes from having straight A's to getting a D.
Clear giveaway.
Right? What happens if a kid's a D student who now gets a straight A for 3 times in a row?
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that.
Right. But it's extremely unhealthy.
Really?
Yeah, because nobody will jump. Any jump like
What's
that
what,
compensation. Like, doesn't matter what
does that
it
mean,
is.
compensation?
The same way.
Someone's paying him to do better?
Or in a way to compensate for being abused at home, or in a way to compensate for having other issues going on in his life or her life. There's a healthy way.
Is that a stretch?
Absolutely. Nope, not a stretch at all. That's what I'm telling you. So why is it so important? Why is education so important, right? Educating the educators.
Because of my reaction right now.
Because your reaction right now is the same reaction that everybody would have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you see somebody get 70s and then they're going up to 75, 80, or they worked really hard on a test and they got an 85 and then maybe a little back, but if somebody is making such a change, now again, by the way, also remember, pattern and behavior changes will be different in different communities. In the Litvisher community, right, the kid starts off by growing a chup. Oh, his hair is getting too long. In the Hasidic community, kids that are struggling might keep everything hidden because they know whenever they make that turn, there's no going back. Right. So you have to be able to so you need to really be educated in each community to understand the nuances, to understand what is there. Rabbi Yanki Horowitz told it to me when we put out some of our videos. So one of the educational videos we did an animation series, which is really cute. And he's like, this animation is great, but for them to accept it in Williamsburg, you need to change the animated kids to kids with payas, because that's what they're going to relate to. Right. You need to change it from a kid walking into his house to walking into an apartment building after school. And he said, if you look at my books, the Yiddish, English, and the Hebrew ones, you will notice that each of the books, the imaging is totally different. The books in Hebrew look more like what Israeli streets and homes look like. The same thing applies. There's no one potion for everything. So people need to be educated, and that's really the only real way to deal with this is by proper prevention and education.
And if arcade rentals aren't your thing, then I don't know what you're doing. But maybe you are booking Lalechet for your next amazing trip. Yeah, anywhere in the world. You want to go to Poland? You want to go to Israel? Lalechet has been a trailblazer in this industry. You want to visit Kivrei Tzadikim? You want to join a trip that they prearranged? Head to their website, lalechet.com. It all starts there. There's nothing you can't do with Lalechet at your side. I mean, there's some things you can't do, but when it comes to travel and trips, there's nothing you can't do. Head to lalechet.com today and plan your dream trip right now.
We'll be right back to this episode. A quick word from my friends at Gahat. There's this new book, the Eshet Chayil book. I spoke about it for several weeks, and guess what? Many of you bought the book, but one of you bought 26 of them. You know who you are, 26 books. You gave it out to friends, teachers. I don't know who you gave it to, but that's really incredible. This is a book written by Yossi Marcus after October 7th. And this book is dedicated for all the women of valor out there, all the Eshet Chayils, but especially those women who lost their lives defending Israel on October 7th. Buy this book. It is a beautiful piece. It is the perfect gift. And you can use promo code MM20 or SOH20 right now to get 20% off. That is major savings right now. This is a beautiful Hanukkah gift. Hit the link in the show notes below. Head to their website and order this book today. I have it in my house. One of you has 26 of them now. Get your hands on this. A woman of valor. Those are the people you need to know about. Buy it today. Hit the link in the show notes. And by training the Rebbeim and the teachers, so you're saying that's something you started doing, we're doing?
Both. No, we're doing. I'm saying this. So we're doing now. We're doing more than just that. We're doing more than just that. Now we're also doing curriculum in schools. which, schools are like, oh, we don't have time. When should we add this in? Every Rosh Yeshiva that saw it, that knows who we are, said, instead of Musar, give that to the boys. Like, this is more important, and it will fall into that category. The point is that we are definitely getting places, definitely. And the community is definitely more acceptable to it. But we still got a long way ahead of us, and again, these programs cost us a fortune of money, right?
Yeah.
And the schools are like, we don't have the money. Nobody wants to pay. They don't want to, the principal wants to maybe institute it, doesn't really want to tell the board, doesn't want. So now it's like, well, what do we do? Like, it costs us money. Like, it's not like, oh, just give it to me and we'll do it. There's expenses involved. I mean, first of all, developing the program is millions of dollars, and we're always developing and updating. But the point is, though, so even the schools that want to teach it, and this is something that I'm going to say now, I want to say it carefully, but I'll say it anyway. If you learned math for 3 weeks out of the year, and I taught you math in 5th grade for 3 weeks, and 6th grade for 3 weeks, and 7th grade, would you know math?
No.
But we expect to walk into a school and do a 2-day prevention program on abuse, and a 1-day class on bullying, and a 1.5 days on internet safety, and we're going to solve all the problems. It's not realistic. Now, don't get me wrong. It's important for the schools to have something better than nothing. But the statistics clearly show that the best method of children getting resilience and really knowing how to protect themselves and prevent from things happening, especially as they get older, is by real curricula. It's not going to just happen. And that's what we've developed.
Well, do you think that by doing this, there would be less suicides, less abuse?
100%.
And how is there, how that's an easy sell.
Okay. You looking for a job?
I don't think so.
I mean, if you want to help us get it in, help us.
We're doing this,
You're
right now.
more than welcome to bring us in a couple of donors to help us cover it, and to get donors to cover schools. And yeah, sure.
Speaking of donors, as a nonprofit, I feel like it's probably been harder over the last couple of years to raise money. Real estate's really rough. What have you seen on that front?
So we definitely have noticed, a huge decline in funding. Mm-hmm. To the point that it's been affecting a lot of what we do. By the way, I'll say it. I'm not so happy to say it, but we used to have a fund called Project Heal, where we paid for therapy for abuse victims who had never gotten therapy before, and we had to shut that fund down.
No way. We
were giving out millions of dollars a year, and it was the most painful thing.
It couldn't.
It's not sustainable. Because
so why are you finding, are people making less money? Why are people not giving as much?
So it's a pattern. 2021, 2022, 2023 real estate market. As we know, landlords stopped renting out apartments because they can't increase the rents. As their apartments are emptying, they're keeping them empty. They're, ghost apartments. I mean, they're speaking about it now all over the media.
Yeah.
What happened when Cuomo did that horrendous act that's hurting everybody.
Yeah.
So that was one. And then there's a lot of other very important tzedakahs. And there's also we're firefighters, right? So, and I'm not saying this in a negative. I'm saying this, Mi Ka'amchi Yisrael, October 7th happened, and we stepped up. And I myself stepped up. I myself was involved in helping fund planes with medical equipment and mental health programs, one of which is being opened up literally in the next week in Israel in a hospital. I'm not able to discuss it in details yet, but there was a lot of money that went into that. So I'm just as quote unquote guilty of that, meaning helping other causes that are very important. But at the end of the day, it did affect nonprofits in the United States. And I've sat with heads of other nonprofits. And if I tell you, again, our funding went down enough that we were down by over $2 million a year, which affected our ability to help for this specific therapy fund. Now, again, the therapy fund wasn't Amudim. Amudim is case management, but it was a big part of it. Helping somebody get therapy when they can't have it.
What do those people do now, right?
So then the answer comes, well, what did they do before Amudim? But then the answer is, well, before Amudim, they didn't know, or they didn't know they could. So it becomes a vicious cycle. But yeah, we certainly felt a big dip. We're hoping it'll get better now. We're hoping.
We do see, over the last couple of years, and I think all tzedakah is amazing, right? It's incredible. Tzedakah, Karen Torah, there was $110 million. I think each year, the last 2 years, That's
what I've been told. Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. The assumption is that money's coming from somewhere. Again, I'm not saying it shouldn't. Obviously, every tzedakah is important. Every cause is important.
But there's always a casualty.
And I think a lot of meistis in America have been complaining. A lot of yeshivas I know that literally have been borrowing money from their boards to cover payroll. It has been tough. The nonprofit world, the frum nonprofit sector, has been having a very, very tough time.
Is there like a light at the end of the tunnel, or?
Well, hopefully the war ending in Eretz Yisrael, again, there's still going to be a lot of rebuilding costs and other things that are still going to be going on there, but hopefully that'll impact it. Hopefully donors will realize that they have people in their own backyards, and do that. Hopefully people will make more money and be able to give more money. We're hoping. Listen, a lot of people, including Amudim, we're working on ways of having revenue generating things that we shouldn't have to rely on donors' money, which we're working on now, but it's going to take us a few years. We're opening up, a mental health clinic that will be self-sustainable. So we'll be able to provide therapy for people. Billing insurance, billing Medicaid. But the main thing that we keep reminding everybody is, but we're not changing the core Amudim. Amudim is not becoming a mental health clinic.
Right.
Amudim is remaining as case management. That's what we do. That's what we do well. And that is where we're saving lives every day. But we need to find ways that we can bring in revenue because that was the big lesson we've learned the last 2 years.
Very interesting.
Can't rely on donors.
I hope people make enough money that everything can go around. In my experience, I don't think that I've never seen an organization say, okay, guys, we're good. Like, we don't need any more. Like, I don't think organizations that, raise money from something will go ahead and be like, okay, now things are less. We don't need money anymore.
So the answer is yes and no. Meaning, as an organization, you're supposed to have an approved budget before you start the year, right?
Right.
Now, if you hit your budget, right? So one of two things happen. Either you'll still try to raise some more money so that you'll have a little bit of a head start for the next year.
Yeah.
Or you'll focus more on the growth of the organization or other things that need to happen. But it's like any other business, right? You're growing your business. So there's always going to be some point of growth. If an organization has a $10 million a year budget and somebody gives them $50 million and they don't even have what to do with it, right? Somebody passes away, some big endowment, what's that organization supposed to do with that money at that point? And at the same time, if an organization realizes, wow, we learned how to raise money, even if we don't need it now, but maybe we'll need it in 10 years. So we'll just keep raising money.
Right.
So yeah, that is part of the reality. But let's also remember that you have to run a nonprofit like you would run your business. To make
sure it's sustainable.
And it's got to be one way or the other. And it's, listen, there's no competition when it comes to chesed. At the end of the day, people are going to give to where they want to give, and they're going to give to what makes them happy to give.
And Hashem provides.
Provides. But he needs messengers. He asks for messengers, right? Sure. The number one issue that we have at Amudim, and this is not just Amudim, it's, David Mandela's mentioned this to me from Ohel in passing. We remind people of the darkest time of their life.
They want nothing to do with you.
They want nothing. We have no alumni association, or a very small one, I should say. We do have a very small alumni association, like maybe 5 people, maybe, out of over 20,000.
Who are like proud Amudim graduates. No one wants to think about
that. Proud Amudim graduates, maybe 1 or 2 of them would get up and speak publicly for Amudim. Right. The other 3 are supporting us financially, helping financially.
Yeah.
But I could tell you, I'm not going to say any names. I was sitting with somebody a few months ago, a young couple, husband and wife. I don't really remember much about them. I was with Yossi Goldberstein, who's my partner who runs Amudim Israel. And the wife asked if she could speak to me privately on the side. And I said, she just said to me, I want to thank you. Many years ago, before I was married, I needed help, whatever. And Amudim really helped me. And then the husband made a similar comment as well. They didn't know each other. Amudim doesn't have a shidduch program. And I thought for sure, okay, wow, the husband thanked me. The wife thanked me. They're now married to each other. They both know this would be like a perfect opportunity of people that they're starting to make a living. And they did make some money. And I heard about it from other tzedakahs that they got involved in, but Amudim was not one of them. I don't blame them. I understand it. I wish it wasn't like that. But most people, when they give to a cause, either it's something that affected them or they want an insurance policy, right? I'm going to donate an ambulance to Hatzalah, so I should never need to call them, right? But when it comes to stuff that we deal with, people don't even want to think about that as an insurance policy. That is so far-fetched. They don't even want to,
It's like Misaskim also has that. I think they have that issue also. It's like nobody wants to think about it,
right?
But it's a reality.
Right.
It's unfortunate. It's a reality.
We got to do the best we can.
Yeah. Tell me about a phone call you got like this week about a case that you guys are dealing with now. Obviously no details, but you might not even know, but you'll know the type of calls that Amudim gets. I get calls and I tell people right away, please call the office, because if you call me, you're going to wait for me to get back to you and I'm going to get busy, and I'm the director, the fundraiser, the bottle washer. We did just bring in somebody to help us with the administrative work and with fundraising. Andy Lauber just joined our family. Nice. Yeah.
So Baruch Hashem, that was a good pickup for us.
Guy.
But I'm doing the job of 20. So when it comes to the clinical stuff, it's important. And I tell you, if you need me, let me know. Like if they need to speak to a Rav or something that won't listen to the family or whatever, I got to sometimes, meet up. But I did get a call from somebody who I actually know them, which is why I guess they felt comfortable calling me, where the wife had just found out that the husband was involved in some severe, not just gambling, but debt, and from not good people, and reached out. And, I'm not going to say nothing surprises me. Things do surprise me, don't surprise me, but this is like a family, good living, good, like everything from the outside, the 2 Range Rovers, the nice house, the summer home, the whole package. And yet there's nothing behind that door. Nothing. When I say nothing, I mean there was no food in the fridge. And this woman reached out, help for her husband. But, we try to remind people that it's not just about helping the husband, it's about helping the family. Reaching out to a local supermarket, grocery store, how can we do something in a Makavadig way, help the family, make sure there's clothing. It's, at the end of the day, it's not just about helping the person who needs the help, because if you don't provide a support structure for their support structure, it's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Again, that's just one that called me. Another person reached out through my wife to me about their elderly father, who since October 7th started heavily drinking. And they reached out to different organizations. Age, we don't know. The father doesn't want to get help. Again, this guy became an alcoholic at over 70 years old. I mean,
wow.
Like, for real. These things are heartbreaking. But then we get a call where somebody literally mentioned to me that his child's getting married in a few weeks and he needs to make sure that I'll be there. And he even asked me to make sure that a certain one of my employees will be there as well.
Why is that?
Because that's the employee that was very involved in helping him with his child. And he says, my kid would not be alive today. I would not be walking down the chuppah if not for you guys.
Right.
So we get calls like that. And that's really what keeps us going. We look at the wins. We look at all the positives. There's a lot of tragedy, but thank God there's a lot more wins than losses.
Yeah, thank God. If you're hurt or find yourself in an accident, which, let's be real, it happens more than we like it, you need the right lawyer on your side. That's when you call the Rothenberg Law Firm. For over 55 years, they've been a cornerstone in our community, helping people just like you. They've won and collected billions of dollars for their clients. And the best part, if they don't win, you don't pay. When you choose Rothenberg, you're not just getting a lawyer, you're getting a trusted friend who treats you like family. They understand that a personal injury can turn your life upside down. So they go well beyond just legal representation. They will make sure your medical bills are paid by the appropriate parties and that your family is taken care of during this rough time. Everybody knows Rothenberg, so you know they're the name you can trust. So if you ever find yourself needing legal help, remember to head to injurylawyer.com or call them 1-800-624-8888 for a free case evaluation. Make sure to keep the Rothenberg Law Firm on speed dial, because not every injury lawyer has the resources to stand up to the big corporations and insurance companies. They've been fighting the good fight for over 5 decades, and they are not slowing down. I hope you never need them, but if you do, the Rothenberg family is there for you. This episode is also sponsored by my friends at Town Appliance. Ever since 1979, they've been the #1 appliance store servicing the Jewish community and beyond. They understand our needs. They understand what Erev Yontif looks like, the crunch time. They understand that when you say you need a new oven next week, you need it next week. They understand when they walk into your Jewish home, it's practical. It's practical. It's stuff that you need. When you call and you want to purchase a brand new oven, a brand new fridge, a brand new freezer right before Yontif, it's not something that could delay for 2 to 3 weeks, that you need it ASAP. So head to townappliance.com right now. They've been taking care of us ever since 1979, and it's going to be like that for a far long time. Even when Mashiach comes, Town Appliance is going to be there. That's what some of Roshim say. I'm just kidding about that. I'm not sure. But what I do know for sure is head to townappliance.com. The customer service is incredible, and you'll be taken care of. Mention meaningful people for some extra special treatment. Enjoy the rest of this episode. What's something that you're scared to say out loud?
I don't really.
No, nothing?
I don't think so.
No?
I mean, I'll talk about pedophiles and how they belong in jail, and I'll be told I'm a miser.
Right.
And then I'll say to them, look at the stats. I've serviced thousands of people. You don't know thousands of people in jail. Maybe ask yourself what's going on with our community, right? Maybe they should all be in jail. I know they all shouldn't be hurting people.
Right.
But then you look
It's tricky. It's true. And I discussed this with Rachel Bayer again. The community's support for people who are part of our community who commit an awful crime. And it seems there are times where we might be supporting the perpetrator more than the victim.
So let me give you my 2 cents on that, okay? First of all, the victim and the victim's family always needs our support first and foremost, no matter what. There's good and evil, period, end of story. As far as the perpetrator, if the perpetrator has a family, they deserve help too.
They do.
Right? Their spouses, the children, the siblings, they didn't do anything to deserve it.
They didn't sign up for this. Yeah.
So they deserve help too. And people, there are times that I've actually helped raise money for a perpetrator's children to go to school. Like they needed yeshiva tuition. I mean, these are kids. They need help. They need food in the house.
Not to compare at all, but their kids are also a victim.
They are. We're not comparing, but they are 100%. Yeah. And we need to accept that as a reality. Okay. Now, then comes the issue of protecting or helping or defending the abuser. So that really goes into different categories. Okay. From a halachic debate, it's not a discussion. The halacha is very clear. Okay. Person's a din rodef. Hashkafically.
But what if they're not deemed a din rodef anymore? Like what if they're
dead?
Not dead, but
so how are they not deemed a din rodef? They're never going to abuse again? Because you know what? I have people that have told me over the years, we get a case. 5 years ago, the Rav knew about it, and he said he's getting the person help. And now it's coming to us. 5 years later, the person has more victims. I don't know anybody that got cured magically, and jail does not cure people either. I want to make that very clear, okay? One of 2 things.
So someone might answer you and say, let's not.
So give me another option.
Maybe listen, obviously it's not realistic.
No, so give me an option. I'm open-minded.
No, but that's
jail is no good. So what do you want to do?
No, but we can't change it's the law of the land, and these people deserve to be.
While this person's in jail, are they hurting anybody else?
I can't imagine they'd be able to.
Okay. So one thing we know for sure.
They're not hurting people.
Even a guy that takes a plea for 2 years, right? Which most of these cases will get lower pleas if they plead right away, because the courts don't like to put victims on trial. Okay. So for 2 years, at the very least for 2 years, this person is not going to hurt anybody, right?
Right, but they're going to come out and they're not going to be fixed.
They're going to come out. No matter where they live, people will know they went to jail for abusing. So people will be more careful about their own families, their own children. So you've already created multiple barriers of keeping the community safe, right? See, people will tell you jail as a punishment is not a frum thing. The Torah doesn't believe in punishment. So let's even assume that's true, right? But jail as a method of keeping people safe. So 2 things are accomplishing, right? Number 1, while they're in jail, they're not hurting anybody. Number 2, when they're out of jail, people know about it. Now, let's break that down. The hope is also somebody that came out of jail for doing it. You might not have cured them, but they're not going to do it again. Now, they're not cured, but they're also not wanting to go back to jail. So in other words, we're defining the illness is still there. Maybe they'll go for offender treatment, which people do. right? Maybe they'll do what they need to do to get themselves help. And by the way, people that abuse or people that want to abuse should reach out to get help also. Meaning there is help available if they want it. The problem that I have is most of these circumstances, when the do-gooders and the askanim are going to quote unquote help, there's no help being provided. Some guy molested kids. They knew about it. Moves to another community. They call back the first community. The Rav says, listen, I got him help. He went to therapy. He's good. You know, we have the pedophile exchange program, right? From one community to another, right? Because nobody knows. And then the person abuses again. I can't believe it. Well, what can't you believe? What did you think? You covered up for this person, moved them to another neighborhood, and now magically they're going to stop abusing?
Honestly, you could say the same about financial crimes.
1 second. And a person who commits a financial crime is a roidif also. I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah.
Our community has the number one. I mean, you have this whole thing that you're dealing with people and parnasa and money. But let me tell you something. Percentage-wise, most issues that the Frum community has were better off than the rest of the world, except for Ponzi schemes.
Really?
Yeah, because Ponzi schemes, nobody goes to jail because it's Mesira. So if nobody goes to jail, people might do it again. Nebuch, the guy has a family, all the Nebuchs, right? Again, I'm not saying, let me make this very clear. I'm not trying to advocate jail. I want to advocate don't do the crime, don't abuse people, don't steal money. That's the answer, prevention, right? But if you're going to do it and you're not going to have any repercussions, then you will do it again. So that repercussions has to come from somewhere. Again,
it's like almost one of those things I discussed with Rachel Bayer is like letters being written on behalf of a perpetrator. And let's say there's someone who sat for a long time. I know without getting into details, there's a case now, someone who sat for a very long time and there have been Rabbanim writing letters on his behalf. There's also a Rav that withdraw his letter.
Right. So I'll give you my 2 cents on that. Okay. First of all, if Reuven steals money from Shimon and Reuven is getting sentenced and Levi writes a letter on behalf of Reuven when Reuven's going to court, Shimon may not necessarily get upset about the letter. He'll be upset that money was stolen. But somebody else that lost money from a different person certainly won't be upset. Victims of abuse, because we're still living in a society where victims aren't believed. I mean, listen, what's a victim referred to in court? An accuser. Even when we're talking about a victim, they're an accuser. We don't even believe them. They're accusing somebody, right? I mean, that's a bad terminology.
Well, innocent until proven guilty. So
again, but we're still, but the suffrage is going.
And the person who is a defendant.
Right. Yeah. But the point is that when a victim sees that somebody's writing a letter for somebody else, even if they weren't abused by that person, it does hurt. Now, that's number one. So keep that in mind. Now, there are people that are going to say to me, but I want to write a letter anyway, right? I can't stop people from doing it, but there's writing a letter and writing a letter. The main reason why I was so upset, literally, I didn't sleep. Like my wife actually said to me, all of a sudden you're like, I couldn't go to sleep. Like I couldn't even try. I was so angry. Was because the letter did not even address the guilt. This is a person who's never admitted to what he did, never owned it, never apologized, even la halacha, never did any of the methods of tshuva, right? Number one. And the letter did not even address the pain, suffering, and support of the victim or any victims. So even if somebody is going to write a letter, which I'm not a fan of, but people will do it, a loved one, a sibling, a family member, I get it, they'll do it. I do find it ironic that they have this new program now. It's similar to chickens for KFC. We call it pedophiles for peace. Because when there's machlokes by certain groups that are in court over Yerusha, but they manage to get together to sign a letter, right? All of a sudden, now they're shalom, right? So it's beautiful, right? Okay? Yes, sarcasm, just in case you were wondering. But my point is, people are going to write the letter. So first of all, when you write the letter, no, it's always going to get public. Somebody will find out. So don't come back with excuses. And by the way, I wrote a whole article about this 5 months ago, about something from a previous time that happened. And a Rav then got up and made a public video apologizing and, did it. Again, now, like you would think people learn. But that's not the point. The point is there was no acknowledgement of guilt, no acknowledgement. We condemn the nature of the crime.
Huh?
That was the term that was used. Not John did something horrendous. We understand he was bad. He's been punished. And we feel so bad for everything that, the victim went through and what the family went through. Nothing. That to me, that was even worse than the letter.
Can you meet with these people and discuss that with them and like point out what this potentially can do for future or not even future, present victims that are not going to speak out of what happened to them because
that's why they do it.
They don't want them to speak out.
The part of the whole thing is we don't air our dirty laundry in public.
I don't know. I don't know I don't know everyone who signed this letter. I really don't. But is it fair to say that none of those people care about?
So first of all, you have to understand. Number one is they have to want to first believe that it's true, right? Let's just understand that. It can happen by everybody, not by me, right? So every time somebody makes an accusation in sexual abuse, they always find 27,000 reasons why the victim is lying and how the perpetrator is a tzaddik. Always. Consistent. It's 100% consistency. Okay? That's just the way it is. And once you say someone's a tzaddik long enough, lie enough, it becomes true, right? So that's what it is, right? This person's a tzaddik. This person's Yosef at tzaddik. They're in jail learning and davening. Seriously? But then you start believing it.
Yeah.
Then you also have the hashkafic side. A Jew doesn't go to jail. Jew doesn't belong in jail no matter what. We don't care. A Jew doesn't belong in jail. So to that, I've always said, just give me another solution. Like, tell me something that could work. Keep people safe. Nobody will tell you they want kids to be molested. They'll never say that. But if the choice is throw the victim to the curb or the abuser, where the abuser has a family and kids to marry off, then they always choose the abuser. And that's what we need to stop.
Can I ask you a crazy question?
Even
we talk about obviously the amount of victims that there are, right? Let's say talk about abuse, which means that there are either an equal amount of perpetrators of those crimes abusing, or there's fewer people but abusing a lot more people. Correct?
So again, statistically, the non-familial abuser will have abused over 100 victims before they get caught.
So let me ask you this. Statistically, there's, on average, an episode of ours will get around 75 to 120,000 downloads and views. Statistically, someone watching or listening to this episode, forget about having been abused, we can get there, but will be someone who abused. So what would you say to that person that is not caught? Reach
out to somebody for help. Get help now before you end up in a situation where you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. I mean, I have something right now.
You wouldn't tell them to turn themselves into the law. You wouldn't
Again, people aren't going to get help.
You realize the question.
I realize the question.
I've never asked that to anybody.
So let me put it to you this way, right? Let me paint the picture differently. John, right? We're not going to say Ruvain, we'll say John, right? So everybody will be fine. John commits a crime, right? Abused somebody, or started off with child porn, or, started off by forcible touching, even if it was somebody that they worked with, meaning they started with something, right? And you find out about it, right? And John is 20 years old, and you decide as the askin or whatever or the Rav or the Yeshiva or the Rebbe, you're going to get him help, right? So John goes for help, whatever that means. John gets married, and of course, you don't tell John's wife what John did because he was 20 years old.
Right.
Because
he's better now.
Right, he's better now. And now John is married with 3 kids and does it again. By not getting him help 5 years ago, you destroyed not just him, his wife, and his kids. That's all on the do-gooders. You see, everybody's so busy worried about, well, what's going to be? Well, if you don't do something, it's always going to be worse. Either it's going to be worse because there will be more victims, and every victim you have, the blood is on your hands, and you're a murderer. Anyone who covers up abuse is a murderer because they are killing other people. Not just the one, but everybody future. So you're a murderer, or you murdered their entire family because you didn't get somebody to help when they could have. So my message is, if somebody feels that they will abuse or they did abuse, get yourself help.
Well, how do they do that practically? They can't just call someone and say, hey,
everybody knows someone they can call. You find
Well,
it.
can they call Amudim?
I mean, they can call Amudim if it's anonymous. I mean, obviously, we
What
have to
happens
follow
is-
the laws. But people know, if people want to get help and they're scared of the repercussions, I promise you, they will find a way to, I promise you, they will find a way to get help. I promise you. Go to another country with it, whatever, it doesn't matter. If somebody really wants help, they will find it. And maybe if somebody finds it and somehow through them finding it, they end up in trouble, I will tell you a little secret. I highly doubt a court would put somebody in jail. They might arrest, they might have a conviction, who actually went in on their own to try to get help, and that's how they got caught. I'm not talking about a guy that molested 100 people.
I know, but it's trial by media. They're
again,
done.
I'm not saying, again, so I understand the difficulty, right? But let me ask you the question. If somebody reaches out and finds a way to get help today, right? They find a way to get help. There might be repercussions A and B. But if they don't, and they continue down that path, at some point they will get caught. The repercussions then will be far worse. So again, people need to look at it from a realistic standpoint. Again, I'm not saying jail. People say, oh, everyone belongs in jail, doesn't belong in jail, do belong, don't belong. We can always debate 100 ways from Tuesday. Most of these cases, first of all, you're talking about a miyut shabamiyut of cases, because less than 15 cases of abuse ever even get reported. Of those, I think less than 10% ever even get to an arrest. Of the ones that get to an arrest, more than half don't even make it to a trial.
What you're saying is forget all that. You need help because you
Exactly.
will do it again.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
But I'm saying something differently. Everybody that's so busy focused on the jail, nobody can count on two hands how many people they know that are in jail for this.
And if you do, you need new friends. Yeah.
Well, again, but the point is, everybody that gets arrested for this, without fail, is offered a plea right away.
Right.
And the only way people get big sentences is that they don't take a plea. That's number one. Especially if it's a child victim that has to go on the stand. The courts don't want to see children testifying and reliving their horrors and being re-victimized for days in a row. Okay? So that's number one. So people get pleas. They get 2 years, 3 years. But you go to trial, you can take the risk. And the longer you play the game, because remember, it's a gamble. Most people know in the frum world, if you do get arrested, they're going to put enough pressure on the victim and the victim's family that they'll never testify anyway. But that's a gamble. Right? And then all of a sudden, somebody finds himself on trial, and now they get 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, whatever it is, 100 years, doesn't matter. Oh, look what happened. You played the odds.
Yeah. And for the people watching who are the ones who've been abused, and statistically, them too probably have not reached out to anybody.
That is correct. So for that, we say people should reach out.
It's daunting.
It is daunting, and it's a very, very scary call to make. It is not easy to ask for help. Even in today's day and age, when things are spoken about as openly as they are, people do not want to say the words, I was abused, on many levels. But I can just say there is help available. Help is available. Reach out. If you have a local mental health agency near where you live, if you have a good relationship with a local clinician, call Amudim, call any organization, just get help. This is about people need to get help. They need to lead healthy, productive lives. And it's possible. I want to tell you, people do very well. Some people might have to be in therapy for a long time. Some people not. That's, but at the end of the day,
But you can live a good life.
you can live a good life.
That's all we want.
That's it. That's all anybody wants.
That's what it's all about. We want people to be healthy.
Right.
Listen, I know you have a campaign going on now. I hope it's successful. I really do. Like, it sounds like I would love for that fund to come back.
So we would love for that fund to come back too. I will say the campaign is coming up soon. Yeah, Yemi Schachter, by the way, is a rock star.
He was a man.
By the way, even this campaign, I want you to know, people go crazy on me, right? Because the campaign is Unite to Heal, right? That's what we call it. And if you look at the campaign, right? So I don't know if you got a chance to hear about it, but we have like all these different segments, and
like 36.
You were part of it already in the past, and get you back involved again. But a good portion of our segments are for awareness. In other words,
Right, it's content.
It's not just
fundraising.
the now Jewish nanny being interviewed with Elon Gold, right? That's going to be fun, right? It's
Yeah.
not just having, you know, so many amazing, whether it's musicians, whether it's talent, whether it's comedians. I mean, there's a lot. This, by the way, this year's lineup, I just want you to know, off the charts. I can
Looking
tell
forward.
you that straight up, off the charts. But even in that, it's about helping people. Yeah, we want to raise money and we need to raise money, but
Yeah.
it's about helping people. And that's really what it boils down to. You know, 36 hours, 36 segments, December 7th and 8th of 2025. Because you see, this gets watched all. By the way, people are still commenting
From
on my
last year?
interview with you from years ago.
Oh, really?
I want you to know.
Well, this is going to be fun. I think
I
you're
want
going
you to
to
know.
get a few more comments now.
Whatever, we'll see. Listen, we're here to talk.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining. Just one thing before I get on with the rest of this outro is that the rest of this episode, right? There's another 15 minutes of this that can be viewed on Meaningful Minute Plus. It's 50% off right now. Head to mmplus.org. Another 15 minutes of this episode and many other episodes, by the way, exist on Meaningful Minute Plus. Go ahead, become a member today, support our mission, and get access to exclusive content. Thank you so much for watching this episode, an important episode of this podcast. Let me tell you. Thank you, Zvi Gluck. Listen, guys, I really hope that Amudim gets all the money they deserve, because to hear that they had to close down this fund that paid for therapy for so many people, over $2 million, is really not great. So let's make sure, I think they're running a campaign pretty soon. Make sure you support Amudim. I'll try to attach a link in the show notes below. Of course, if you're watching this and we're still running our sale, 50% off Meaningful Minute Plus. Take advantage right now. Become a Plus member, because we have amazing content coming your way on Meaningful Minute Plus. Just this week alone, a live stream from Adriana, the now Jewish nanny, Tzipora Grodko, myself, the Ben Shushans. It's going to be a jam-packed week. And then, yes, a week after that, a new documentary sponsored by the Wine Series. So get ready for this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. I'm losing my voice, so that means it's time for me to wrap up. Really appreciate you watching and listening, and I hope to see you soon.